Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Through the Briars podcast. This is your host, Christian Kosovus. We're here on episode 9 today. And today, what we've got for discussion is why meaning matters more than happiness. So, this is a really big one that I think is important to touch on because as we've gone through society and as we've come closer to the present day, I think that we have ultimately removed meaning entirely from the equation. I think we've forgotten what meaning truly is, and we've replaced meaning with vain things. And we've also replaced it with happiness, using happiness as the ultimate pursuit for life. Now, just want to preface by saying, of course, there is nothing inherently wrong with happiness. But I think when you make happiness the top pursuit of your life, this is where the problem of the lack of meaning starts to unfold. I think a lot of people, they forget in life that happiness is temporary and it is limited to the moment, and it is required for you to be in the emotional state of happiness, obviously. Meaning is something that's stable and it's directional and it orients you in the right way. Because the problem now we have with chasing happiness is that people are attaining the feeling of happiness, but they're simultaneously compromising their values and losing their way as a result. So I think the problem why people chase happiness, just to start, is there's such a big push now on just do what makes you happy, do what makes you feel good. And honestly, that's definitely in the ballpark of some of the worst advice that gets preached out on social media, especially to the younger generation. Painting happiness as the ultimate goal at the top of your hierarchy of priority is wrong for many reasons. Firstly, not everything that makes you happy is good. Alcohol makes you happy or can make you happy. Drugs can make some people, committing crime can make some people happy. Those things are not good. Okay. And if you're trying to promote to people that are already lost and aren't oriented in the best possible way, do what makes you happy, well, they're going to do stupid things that, well, they might make them happy in the moment, but they're fleeting and they're damaging, and it leads them on the path to vain hedonism. The other problem with do what makes you happy is that people never adopt any real meaning because, like I said, happiness is confided to the moment, and meaning is oriented towards the long term. So what this is essentially is chasing the happiness is a prioritization of the short term as opposed to the prioritization of the long term. And we've been told the goal of life is to feel good. And the funny thing is with that is that the people who feel good often still feel quite empty with their life. And that is exactly why happiness fails, is because happiness is a temporary feeling. It is a moment to moment, quick on the whim sort of feeling. It depends very heavily on the circumstances of your life and your situation. It disappears when suffering comes along, which is the big one because, well, the only thing more promised than death and taxes is suffering. Suffering is inevitable and you can't get out of it. And people who chase their life and want their life to be bliss and always, I want to do what makes me happy and I'm living for happiness. It's that when that suffering comes along, then obviously suffering is going to take away that happiness. They have no stable long-term foundation that guides them and orients them and keeps them steady when the road starts to become a little bit rough. And also, happiness can't guide you in life, like literally at all. The goal, if your goal is happiness, what happens when life becomes difficult is that you lose your direction. Yeah, and this is also a big reason why I absolutely hate, and a lot of famous literary writers and philosophers will also attest to this, is that you cannot make and self-assign meaning, because when you try to make your own meaning in hedonistic things, it crumbles. People who try to make meaning in how much money they can make and how successful of an entrepreneur they become. And if you guys have been with me for a while, you know I like to use that example a lot, but I think it's a good example, especially nowadays, because that's such a big thing that everyone seems to only care about is how much money they can make. When suffering comes, or if something happens where you lose all your money, or your business doesn't work out, or you can't be an entrepreneur, your life hits the wall. None of that is going to be able to sustain you, literally at all. That's unfortunately just how it is, which is why you need something that's deeper, that lingers almost in that divine realm. Because when there is something that is, when you are chasing something that's infinite, it is almost a goal that you'll forever be pursuing, that it can never truly be obtained, but it's always something that you're working towards and pursuing, which makes it more inherently valuable. Because yes, the things in this life, we achieve things, and we achieve secular things and temporal achievements. But the problem is, in doing that, you achieve it and then you look on to the next thing that you want to achieve. It's like, it's great that the actual pursuit of the achievement held more meaning than achieving the pursuit had. And it's like, well, why is that? And it's because in the act of chasing, you're becoming and you're transforming and you're being morphed and mutated into a better being. But when you have that, it's like, well, that's stopped now. I've attained it and that change is stopped. So I need to do something else. And people, yes, they get happy when they achieve things. And it's not to say that you shouldn't achieve anything. You should. But the difference is, I think, and we've got it backwards, is that we think achieving the achievements that we want is the thing that brings us the happiness. But honestly, it's on the path to achieving that goal that we find the most joy, because we're typically trying to orient ourselves in the right way if you're being someone who's virtuous and not disingenuous about your pursuit. But the point is, when you're tackling and you're trying to chase something infinite, the fact that it's a goal that you'll never really sort of achieve shouldn't be something that puts you down. It should be something that lifts you up, because you, in your life, you need something that's an infinite pursuit, something that you'll never really quite grasp and have consciously, but you are on the path of constant attainment. So in that, for example, chasing things like something like love, or orienting your life to a life of service and humility, those virtues, they're powerful because yes, you can love and you can say to people that you're a loving person, but you can't really conquer that and say that you're the virtuoso of that, because it is an infinite pursuit and it's a daily choice to make those choices. Especially with virtue, it's not really something that you sort of own, as opposed to your sin and your darkness. You own all of that because all of that falls onto you. But virtue, all kinds of virtue, whether it's obedience, humility, love, responsibility, sacrifice, all of those things are a choice. And that's what makes them so profound, is that you have to keep making that choice every single day. You can't ever be the king of virtue. You're always trying to choose virtue, but you can't be the king of it. And the people that you see that are virtuous are just the people that do not compromise their values and corrupt their humanity. They actively and always, no matter how difficult it is, try to choose virtue. And that is what makes them virtuous. It's that continual, active, and conscious choice of orienting their life in the right way. So what does meaning actually mean? Meaning is essentially the amalgamation of responsibility, sacrifice, truth, and pursuing that infinite, building, creating, and contributing, and having also a life of service to other people. That is essentially meaning in a nutshell. You will have the greatest life you can live if you can take up heavy responsibility, pick up something heavy and carry it, because under the weight of something heavy that you've actively chosen, if you let something heavy just drop on you in life, because that's what will happen if you don't choose responsibility, if you don't choose something, life's going to forcibly drop something onto you. And would you rather choose the heavy burden you get to carry, or would you rather have one be placed upon you? Because I think that's much worse. When you are under the weight of that conscious, voluntary choice, the weight of your responsibility, instead of crushing you, under that pressure, it actually shapes who you are and who you become. And that's why they say diamonds are formed under pressure, because, well, obviously they are, but something great cannot amount if it's not under a constant state of pressure. Now, difference between pressure and stress and tension, because Like I said, there needs to be a good element of chaos that comes in, mixes with order to help initiate tension to prompt that outcome, that desired outcome. And you will have the best life you can lead if you sacrifice for something bigger than yourself, if you sacrifice something of value in the present, in the hopes and in the understanding, knowing that something better in the future will come along. If you serve other people, if you help other people in any way you can, it doesn't always need to be a grand gesture. It can just be the smallest gesture of the day. Always try to help somebody else. If you can build or create something and use your creativity, because nowadays our creativity is shot and we chase cheap dopamine and we're being flooded with information. And the cure to all of that and to brain rot is creation and creating something and learning and using your brain. Sacrifice, responsibility, truth, stop lying, tell the truth, no matter how hard it is. Even if you think there's a way you can compromise the truth to try and fit what you want, you will still make things worse. You have to go all in on the truth. It's not a half in, half out game. Truth is all in, and you have to commit to that decision. And when you do that, I've said this plenty of times before, it may not work out in the short term how you like it, but in the long term, the truth is a medium to long term game. And life, funnily enough, pans itself out when you align yourself with what's right. And you shouldn't worry about the outcome. You should worry about, do I want to taint and compromise my values for the sake of pleasing other people? Because in doing that, each time you compromise your values, a part of you becomes corrupt. That's easier said than done. Obviously, it's not like you can just do that. Well, I mean, you can just do that, but it's very challenging, especially in the day and age that we live now. But this is why meaning is so much stronger than happiness, is because when you have taken responsibility and you sacrifice, and perhaps it's for your family or for yourself, or even better, sacrificing for the community, everyone around you, your family, your blood family, your friends, just the people around you in the world, that when you have that orientation and that goal and you figure out what it is, your hierarchy of priority before, when it was like this, fragmented and scattered everywhere, your fragments suddenly start to align. Okay. And it aligns in that pyramid hierarchy, and it tells you, my vision is clearer than ever. I know what I have to do. I know how to take responsibility. I've got something that I'm responsible over. And in that pursuit, even when tragedy hits, you have found a mode of being that is so powerful that it can withstand tragedy. And if you're in that spot where, regardless of how life hits you, you found something that's so meaningful and a way to orient your life that's so meaningful, that is nested in something infinite, like love or humility or beauty or service or sacrifice, you have reached that pinnacle of what our society's foundations are supposed to be set upon. And that is exactly how you endure suffering. Because if you can remain joyful and stoic not in a very corny kind of sense, but in a sense that, yes, bad things are happening to me, but I accept it and that's okay. And things are going to be rough and rocky, but I still know what I have to do despite it. And I'm still going to do the best I can. Everything will work out how it's meant to be. And that's where the leap of faith comes into that as well, because it's a scary decision. But when you're enduring that suffering as well, part of making that decision and that leap of faith is knowing that the world is inherently good, because it is good. And aligning yourself with that will help the world to benefit you and act in your favor as well. Another thing a lot of people really struggle with, people struggle often. They say, I don't feel proud of myself. I don't feel like I'm doing enough, and I want to feel proud of myself. And pride is a cardinal sin. And people will say, I don't mean pride in that way. It's like, yes, but it's essentially the same thing. And what you should feel in turn is that you should have that feeling deep inside you that you're doing the absolute best that you can in any situation you're given. And if you're convinced, because there's a big difference between that and pride. Pride is thinking that you're the best and you're on top of everything and everyone, and you want your flair to be known by others. But if you're composed and you know that in this situation, this is the absolute best that I can do, I'm trying my absolute hardest, and you just leave the rest to the world or to the universe or to God or however you want to say that, everything else, funnily enough, works itself out every single time. That is also how you find joy in difficult times, because it's like, okay, I've done the best that I can do. Now I just have to wait. So that's something to remember. Use those hard situations as moments to test your endurance and say, I'm doing the absolute best thing I can in this situation. And I should be happy knowing that. That should bring me peace across this dark and twisted road. It shouldn't make it more anxiety, feeling like, oh, am I proud of myself? And it's all about me and me. Because the more you think about yourself, the more anxious you become. Because there is psychological studies being done on this for years, where there is no distinction between self-consciousness and feeling miserable. Like, those are the same thing. If you are always thinking about yourself, and if you're always thinking about how things are going to affect you and low qualities of yourself, you are going to be miserable and anxious and defeated. And that is why this service is important, because when you direct that outwards to other people, they feel that. And it's not just that they feel that, but you take the attention off you and you put it on other people. And it helps you stop being anxious and stop being depressed and sad and miserable, because your attention is going to something else. Happiness disappears when life gets hard. That's just an irrefutable, immutable fact about life and about nature. Meaning gives you a reason to keep going when life does bring in struggle and sacrifice and purpose. There's a quick story I actually want to say, and it is a old Japanese folklore tale, and it is very profound. It's very simple, but there's something about it that's so profound. And this story emerged during the Edo period of Japan, which was between 1603 to 1868. And it's called Momotaro. Momotaro translates to Peach Boy. So essentially, an old lady is washing her clothes down a river stream. She's childless. And along the river stream, this giant, abnormally sized peach comes floating down the river. And she stands in awe of it, and she takes it home and she says to her husband, look what I found. Husband goes to try to cut the peach open, and wow, it opens on its own and out springs forth a baby. And this is the Peach Boy. Now, what that peach is symbolizing, firstly, as well, it's fertility, but it's also symbolizing, for lack of a better word, it's symbolizing a horseman of absolute divine will. So as this kid grows older, he discovers that he has superhuman strength and that he's very, very strong. So he's being brought to civilization by the divine, and he has a gift, which is his strength. And now he can either use the gift for his own selfish purposes, or he can use his gift that every single person has, everyone has a gift, to make his life meaningful and to help serve others. So how does he do that? Well, for a long time in the town, there was an island close by called Onigashima, and that translates to Demon Island. And on this island, it is full of Oni and Tengu, which are, in Japanese folklore and mythology, they are demons and ogres. Not demons in the typical Western sense of demons. Each folklore and mythology is a little bit different, but demons usually in Japanese, yes, they are, as Western mythology and theology depict demons as strictly pure evil forces that their sole purpose is to try and overthrow the divine, and to try put themselves in place of the divine. So in doing that, they try to overthrow humanity as well. And yes, some of these demons in Japanese folklore do that, but to a lesser degree, because the thing with Japanese folklore, Oni, they try to reflect humans' evil nature back at them, and they're used more as an enforcer of divine will, because they try to mirror and they try to scare the wicked back into their proper position in society. So in a sense, it's funny. They are an embodiment of chaos, but they're an embodiment of chaos most of the time that tries to help bring back order. Now, in this specific story, Demon Island, these demons and these ogres, they've been going to the town and they've been stealing people's jewels and gold, and they have been taking it back to their island, and they're causing terror among the people. So what that's symbolizing is that chaos has become so prominent now that it's outthrown the balance between chaos and order. So the chaos is up here and the order's down here. instead of it being like this. Okay, so chaos has completely dominated this village. Now, the townspeople, they say to Momotaro, they're like, hey, you have a gift. You have super strength. Go and do something meaningful with your life. Take responsibility and save us from these Oni. And he's hesitant at first and he doesn't want to. Eventually he caves and he goes. He takes his sword, he sets off, and he goes to this island. Now, along the way, he's accepted. This is the first step for his meaning. He accepted responsibility. He knew that he had a gift that was able to help change and benefit the community. He was able to work with the community in a mutually beneficial way. He would shatter the island and then the community would thrive. So that's the goal. Okay, now he's making a big sacrifice because there's a chance that he may not live. He may die. But in this journey, when he picks up that heavy burden, he is finding purpose in that. And it's just a classic myth hero story. Like, it's in every single culture and mythology. There is a story like this everywhere. Every book, every movie and TV show. But for the sake of simplicity, this is a good story. So along the way, he finds 3 companions. He finds a dog that symbolizes loyalty and companionship. And he finds a monkey that symbolizes intelligence and strategy. And he finds a pheasant, which is a type of bird. And that symbolizes just the aerial support and the air reconnaissance that he gives. Now, with his companions, he gives each of them a dumpling to try and bring them together. So again, he's giving something away to gain something back. He gives away his food, the only food he had, bring in the 3 new companions along the journey with him. So he's given something of value, which is his food in the moment, because he doesn't know if he'll have much left. He doesn't know how long he'll be there. And in turn, he gets 3 more companions to assist him in his journey. So that is why you should always serve and you should always give as much and as little as you can from a place of love, because the more you give, the more that gets given to you. So they go to this island, they find a way. This bird, it flies over the walls. The hound, the dog, the monkey, and Momotaro, they find a back door, they sneak in, and essentially they take out all the demons of the island. They come face to face with the chief demon. He gets scared. They kill him, and they have conquered Demon Island. So together, with that companionship and in the work for something greater than themselves, which was the benefit of the community, they were able to overcome the dragon in their way, which was the Demon Island. Okay? So after this, they take all the gold, all the jewels from the island, and they ship it back. Everyone gets their belongings. And now the community and the village is richer than ever. And they can all retire. They all live a great life. They can build. Momotaro becomes eternalized and immortalized through his sacrifice for something better. So he took responsibility. He made the sacrifice. He didn't want to go do the hard thing, but he ended up doing it anyway because he knew that it was necessary for the community. And now everyone's happy. Every person benefits because of one person's sacrifice. So what you should take from that story is that you have a gift. You need to find what that gift is, and you need to use your gift to serve and help other people. That is how you benefit society, and that is how we make such a great change in our community. Because you don't just thrive off that. Every single other person thrives. He becomes crowned with glory. He gets crowned with virtue because of his courage, which is honorable and which is a form of moral beauty. So in that moral beauty, he is coming in contact with the infinite and with the divine. But it's not just that. His sacrifice, it's the same thing with Moses in the Old Testament. And I always use this because Moses, he paved the way, but he never entered the promised land. Now, in this sense, Momotaro, he paved the way. He conquered the island, came back with the rewards, and everything went well. Okay, he still got to live in the finalized outcome of this scenario. Moses did not, but it's the same principle. They sacrificed for something greater, and they used their skills and their gifts to do that. They found meaning along the way. No suffering or tragedy could hold them down. And they became eternalized and immortalized and successful in their plot. And it's just such a great story because it just symbolized perfectly as well. The Demon Island, they hoard the gold. Behind everything you fear, Demon Island, the dragon, whatever amalgamation you want to use that represents all of your greatest fears. Behind that is the gold and everything you want and everything you need. It is the prime and ultimate version of yourself that emerges as a consequence of slaying the dragon. And if he never took that risk, and if he said, no, you know what? I have super strength. I'm just going to use my strength to entertain myself and to be hedonistic and to do cheap parlor tricks, then the community wouldn't thrive. He wouldn't thrive. He would be miserable and he would be wasted. And yes, Momotaro was a gift from the gods to assert absolute divine will in order to conquer the island. But the point is, we all hold that infinity and that divine nature in us. And in that, when you're utilizing the gift that comes along with that, and every person has a unique gift, you help you help society and you help the community prosper. So how do you build meaning? After hearing that story, you think, how do I build meaning? Well, let's go back to the start. Take on responsibility. Okay, even small responsibilities matter. Make your bed. Help an old person take their groceries to the car. Help them cross the street. If you have $1, give it to a homeless person. You don't need to, you give what you can to other people, okay? Make your bed every day. Help your parents around the house. Be of value to somebody else in some way. Find something you want to do that uses your gift to help other people. In that, you will grow, you will change. And you might think, I don't know what to do and what to adopt responsibility over. It's like adopt responsibility over something, literally anything. And as you become more wise, pursuing the path and staying disciplined to it, you have to stay disciplined to it. The plan changes, you become more wise and enlightened, and you figure out what you want to do. Everything is a preparation for where you need to go, but you have to do that and stay on that path with the right virtuous lens. Take responsibility. Choose the heaviest thing you can carry and carry it, because that'll give you the meaning you're looking for. If you're finding difficulty in that, find something that exceeds your current skill set, that gives you enough of a challenge to where you can grow to a new level, but it's not low enough that it's already in reach. Okay, you need to challenge your ability to adapt as a human. Do things that are difficult but worthwhile. Okay, growth comes from challenge, and there is no way around that. The reason you have a miserable life is because you avoid challenge and you avoid growth. And ignoring that and submitting to the psychological neural pathway that you've probably enforced, saying, I can't do it, I'm too old, I'm too tired, I don't need to change, I've been through so much. It's like, yes, you have a moral obligation to yourself and to the people around you to be the best possible version of yourself you can be. Because in doing so, you hinder every single other person from greatness, because you are not responsible for your own sins. You are responsible for the sins of everyone else, and you are responsible for the flourishing of the community. Okay. And when you withhold that because you don't want to change and you feel lazy and tired, then you hinder the potential growth that the community can reach. And that's why when you partake in these things of service and sacrifice and responsibility and helping others, however little you can, you slowly bring the community to that utopia, which is paradise. You need to commit to something beyond yourself, whether that's work, relationships, purpose, truth. Find a career, and if you do that, try in your career to say, first, above all, I want to use my career to help other people. Because when you are giving and giving and giving and you don't withhold and gatekeep, when you give, more comes back to you. Funnily enough, the more you give, the more comes to you. So if you focus on giving and providing value, a byproduct of that will be money, and it will be the networking and the status that you need to keep making that grow. But if you put money at the forefront, then people fall quickly into the trap of deception, and they become tricksters, and they try to manipulate people for their own gain. It's like you can do it the honorable and the virtuous way and you'll still win. It may take longer, but you'll still win. Or you can do it the cheap way and you can get bad, dirty, corrupt money. And some people don't care about that, but it's like you should, because then you're plunging yourself essentially into a pit of hell. You will find more meaning, and everything in your life will work out a million times better it could than if you put money at the forefront. And you see this everywhere. You see this even on TikTok. People that put the money making at the forefront, sure, they get a lot of money, but they do things that exploit others. They'll sell courses that are just generic information you can find anywhere, or they'll sell really expensive courses that are unnecessary and try to justify it. And not everyone is like this. I know there are people who are very honest and sell great courses that are well worth the money. But a lot of people also, because they put money at the forefront of what they want to do and what they want to achieve, they sabotage the people around them and themselves. People who put service and giving at the forefront and providing value, they end up becoming crowned with that immortalized glory. Yeah, and there's a few quotes relating to all of this that I just think are so amazing. And one, I've said it before, Dostoevsky, the mystery of human existence lies not in just staying alive, but in finding something to live for. Okay, and that's what I said before. You need to find a mode of being that is so valuable that it can withstand tragedy. That is honestly probably one of the purposes of life. Is it the purpose? I can't answer that. Is it a purpose? Absolutely. You help yourself be better. If you're someone that crumbles under tragedy, and I'm not saying this like I'm better at it because I'm not, and we all will crumble, and it's okay to crumble, but it's not okay to crumble and stay crumbled. You fall and you get back up, and you have to keep walking and falling in the direction of righteousness and virtue. You know, Nietzsche, he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. If you have your why, which is being of service, taking responsibility, sacrificing, providing for the community, any how that comes, how am I going to get out of this bad situation? How am I going to be joyful? All of that will come and will be answered if you have the why. Okay, C.S. Lewis, a prolific person of history, amazing mind of the past. He says, if I find in myself desires which nothing in this world can satisfy, the only logical explanation is that I was made for another world. That is a hell of a thing to think about. Okay, and this is what he touches on. He touches on that threshold between the finite and the infinite. And when you're reaching for the finite, you realize that nothing in this finite world, the money and the materialism and the hedonism, it cannot satisfy you the way that something infinite does and something divine. Okay, and a lot of people are anxious and scared. It's because they try to find comfort and happiness in the fleeting things in this world that death equalizes and removes. When you are placing your meaning in something that's infinite and eternal, you find that prolonged peace and that joy that withstands tragedy. Okay, the point is, it points to a deeper longing beyond pleasure. Albert Camus, the founder of absurdism, you will never be happy if you continue to search for what happiness consists of. So instead of searching for what's going to make me happy, find meaning and the happiness will come. People waste so much time trying to be happy. It's like, no, that's not how you orient life, because then you do things like you watch porn, you drink, you do drugs, you engage in all of this short form hedonism. You become psychopathic and narcissistic and sadistic and Machiavellian like, and you form yourself into that dark triad or that dark tetrad archetype. You have to search for what makes it, for what gives your life meaning. And it's that constant tension between chaos and order. They wrestle with each other, and in that wrestling, if you partake in that, you either rise above or you rise below. Okay, when too much chaos dominates your life, you become inhabitable by order. But if you let order wrestle with chaos, you find the perfect way through. And it reveals itself to you. Like when you align and you do things right, things are revealed for you and to you, and you become wise. Because in that is a state of humility as well. That doesn't occur without humility. You can't be proud and egotistical and assume that everything's going to unfold for you and the world's going to bend over backwards. And yes, it's hard. And yes, people live hard and tragic lives, but part of the reason their lives are so hard is because they allow themselves to be defeated by chaos. And they do no work to try and make themselves a rock that when the waves of tragedy come in their life, the waves crash upon them and they remain unmoved. Okay. Now, again, that's easier said than done. People go through tragic things, and it's not to belittle that or to deny that. People have hard lives, and there is nothing harder than that. And everyone is going to suffer through it. And perhaps you may not respond instantly and joyfully when something bad happens, because sometimes suffering can be just or unjust, but it's about how you react to it. And funnily enough, some of the best people morally and virtuously in the world, that people meet and people that I know I've met are the people who have gone through unimaginable suffering. It's like, wow, if you actually turned out to be a supervillain, it just is completely justified because of what you've been through. And they choose to respond to tragedy in a positive way. They have a meaning and a peace that remains joyful. They do not let the darkness beat them down. No matter how tired they are, no matter how much they've been through, they always make the choice because they know the importance of bettering themselves for the people around them and trying to be a temple of light to the world. Okay, and not a shadow of darkness that crawls out of the abyss, is miserable and bitter, and engulfs everything in its wake. Okay, we've been told that the purpose of life is to be happy. But if that were true, why do so many people who have comfort, freedom, and pleasure still feel empty? They still do nothing. Comfort is the number one killer, and we live in a society that promotes and is full of comfort everywhere we go. You are only formed when you wrestle with the tension of chaos. Happiness asks, how do I feel right now? What can I do that will make me feel good and grant my immediate, childish, immature, hedonistic whim right now? Meaning demands, what is my life oriented towards? What are you doing with yourself? What is your life oriented towards? That distinction is what is very clear and memorable. That is how you find your meaning. So to close, I want you now, if you're struggling, stop chasing immature and hedonistic things that do not fill your soul, but in turn corrupt it. Because in chasing hedonism, with every commitment to hedonism, you're compromising your values and therefore you are corrupting your soul. So what I want you to leave and have a takeaway from this is find some responsibility. Start small and work your way up. Don't take something super heavy you're not ready for, but you need to take steps to work up to that. Find something meaningful. Every day, try to find a way to serve others. Sacrifice, love, be humble, help. Find your gift, what you're good at. Everyone is good at something. And pursue a path or a career that lets you utilize your gift and maximize it for the utmost benefit and success of the world around you. Tap into beauty and love and humility and let that allow you to come in contact at the threshold where the divine is, to get a glimpse of the fire of the divine and allow that to purify you and help orient you. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Why Meaning Matters More Than Happiness. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Love.